All right, this is just continuing our review of Chapter 7. Here's a couple more solve ones that can be kind of tricky, so just remember to isolate the log first before you switch forms. So pause the video and give these two a shot. All right, number one, there's a times 4 out front, so we've got to divide by 4 to start. So we get a log of x plus 2 equals 5. Okay, and now our base is like this 10 here, right? It's invisible 10, so I'm going to switch forms now that this is a single log since the 2 is part of that log, right? I'm just going to switch it to base 10 exponent of 5 equals x plus 2. All right, this is our value. So that was the switch form step. Okay, and then 10 to the 5th is going to be a 1, and then I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros, I believe. X plus 2, and then minus 2 off of that, so you get 99998, I believe. So a little bit less than 100,000. All right, next one. Before we can switch forms, we got to write this as a single log. So we're going to write it as a log, and then we're going to divide these two parts, so 2x over 5. Okay, and then switch forms. So the base is 10, the exponent's negative 2, so we have an invisible 10, exponent's negative 2, and we have 2x over 5. 10 to the negative 2, I think we did that earlier, that's a small little decimal. And now multiply by 5. All right, to get rid of the divide 5, I guess it can be explicit. Remember, the fraction bar means division, so we're going to cancel it out with a multiply. Okay, now just divide by 2, so we're going to get 0.025 for x. All right. Let's try one of these. So there's some question about domain, right? So domain again is what is possible for x. So pause the video and see if you can figure out what is going to be the domain here. Okay, so the trick is generally the domain is all real numbers, right? That's the general rule. Like if you just had something like 3x, x can be anything because you can multiply anything by 3, right? But on a division one, you can't have a 0 in the denominator. So our domain here is going to be all real numbers except when the denominator is 0. So if we look at this denominator and say, hey, when is this little expression equal to 0? Well, if you were to solve that, you would just add 36 to both sides and then take the square root. So you would get x equals plus or minus 6. Square root of 36 is both. So we don't want x to be 6. So just to be as explicit as possible, if x were 6, right, our fraction would be 1 over 0, and then that'd be a problem. So we say our domain is all real numbers except 6 and negative 6. Okay, so when asked for domain, just think what is possible for x. All right, so let's do an expand one. We did, in the properties, we did ones where we had to make it in a single log, but this is going the opposite direction. And again, if this base 3 really doesn't affect the question, so if it freaks you out, just take it off and you could put it in at the end, to be honest. So pause the video, give it a shot. Okay, so we have 3 bases multiplied together, the 5x squared and y squared. So when I expand it, I'm going to write log of 5, and then they're all going to be added together, right? Because these are multiplied here, so I'm going to write log of 5 plus log of x squared plus log of y squared. That's equal to what we started. Sorry, y to the 5th. Okay, and that's pretty much the answer, except that these little exponents can move down in front. Right, so we're going to get log of 5 plus 2 times log of x plus 5 times log of y. And that's expanded as much as we can. All right, and again, if you want to add it back in, right, this was really a base 3 at the start, so, you know, you can add it back in if you want a complete answer. These should be all base 3 logs. Sorry, that little 3 there didn't turn out, but that's what it looks like in expanded form. Last question here is another interest one. And Mr. Paris starts TikTok. I don't know what they call a TikTok video. I'm just going to call it a talk. So his first talk has 300 views. From that point forward, it continuously gains 5% more views each day. How many views will the talk have in 8 days? So pause the video, see if you can find the right formula. Remember, there's the two different interest formulas, and then figure out how many views in 8 days. Okay, so this one says continuous, so we've got to use this PERT formula, right? Where we want to find the, and again, that's because it says continuous, right? So we want to find the amount after 8 days. I know time is usually years, but it is 5% per day, and we want to find in 8 days, so we should be okay here. And our initial amount is 300. E, remember, is just that number, 2.7 something. Okay, and then we're going to do the rate times the time. So the rate as a decimal, if I move it over twice, is 5%, and the time is 8. Okay, so now I'm just going to crunch all that on my calculator. So I'm going to do 300, and then second and e to the x key right here. And then you probably don't have to use parentheses if you have my calculator like this, but I'm going to do it just to be safe. 5% times 8. Okay, and we can see that it's got, if you run to the nearest view, that'd be 448 views. Right, so we'd have 448 views at the end of 8 days, so not too bad. That is the end of this review part 2. Thank you for watching.